Ladies and gentlemen, it still is November 7th, 2025, and it still is David Kendrick, owner of Lion Speaking Agency, and I still am your favorite Purple Heart veteran, baby, bam! But I want to get into a serious topic that I had, well, it's a topic based on a conversation that I had yesterday, and this is why I love, love, love what I do. So after our fireside chat yesterday, you're shaking hands with people and you see a line of people waiting to shake your hands and things like that. And it was a woman off to the side on her own. And she said, "Hey, I wanted to talk to you because during your chat, you talked about advocating going back to work with a disability." And she told me what had happened to her, and she told me that I had this catastrophic thing happen to me, and I've been out of work for a year, and now I'm nervous. And I've been through that. If you go to my blog, and I'll post it down below, I have a blog called "My Disability Caused Me to Be a Homeless Veteran." Because after I got out of the military, I applied for unemployment. And I got a letter back from the state of New York saying, "Hey, your DD 214 states that you're disabled. In order to receive unemployment, you have to be willing and able to work, and we need you to take a physical." Now, I was willing to work, but I didn't know if I was able to work because the Army was the only thing that I've ever done, and I didn't know what my job duties would require me to do. So I couldn't do this physical for many different reasons, and I didn't get paid. I never got unemployment, and that was the beginning of a very deep decline for me. But when I was talking with this young woman, she told me this has happened to me, and I just need some help. I need some advice. So, for anybody else who's going through the same thing, I'm going to talk a little bit about going to work after an injury. Now, this isn't legal advice. I'm not a lawyer, anything like that. I just do everything off of my personal experience because here in Atlanta, working for a Fortune 500 company, I had a major battle. Ended up in arbitration and actually won my case all on my own. Just fighting for myself and being a veteran, saying I know my rights. You're not gonna. A lot of companies just, "Hey, you're a vet. We hire vets. Come on in." So no, I'm gonna fight for my rights as a disabled veteran. But let's get into it now. So, so you're going to work and now you have a disability. First thing that I would do, let HR know, and then let your direct manager know, because your direct manager is going to be over you and your performance, and you're going to be he or she is going to give you your performance evaluations and everything like that. So here we go. I took some notes here. So I wrote down, ensure that your HR and your direct manager knows how your disability will impact your work performance. This sets a standard for you, your manager, and your organization. It also shows your integrity so that your manager knows you will not be exploiting your disability. And what I mean by that is saying, let's say that you have migraines. You had something happen to you and now you have migraines. Set that level of integrity so that your manager, so you're not saying, "Okay, I have a migraine. One day I need 10-minute break. The next day, oh, I need 45 minutes," and it changes all the time. Just set that baseline and have some integrity. And so what you can do with your direct manager is sit down with him or her and say, "Hey, this is how my disability will impact my work performance." And if you don't know how it will impact your work performance, think about how it impacts your life. For example, with me, my leg and my foot, I can't walk for very long amounts of time because I'll be in so much pain I can't focus on anything but the pain. And I have other aspects of PTSD that I won't go into now. But for you, if you're returning to work or if you're at work and you have a disability, sit with your manager and let them know, him or her, this is how my disability impacts my performance to do or impacts my ability to do my job. And this is important because you may be a manager and you may be in charge of people, or you may be in a customer facing role. And if you're in a customer facing role and your disability makes it hard for you to interact with customers, then it may be time for you to find another role where you may not have to face customers, or you only face customers for about 4 hours a day instead of your entire shift of 8 hours a day or however long you work. All right. Next, and this is very important because this is what I did and this is how it ended up in arbitration. These are the accommodations that I need to perform my duties to the best of my ability. Me, I'm going to need access to handicap parking. That's me. Because of my foot, my leg, I can't walk long distances. You could say, if you are, I need an enlarged keyboard because I am visually impaired. They are special, if you're visually impaired, there's accommodations that you can get from your job at work. Let them know these things up front. Once again, have that integrity so that if your job performance isn't up to par or at company standards, you don't say, oh, well, I'm disabled. I always needed a visual. I always needed this aid, but I never got it. And the company will be like, well, you never told us this. So I'm a vet. I'm all about integrity. Have that integrity. And then if you have a physical disability, you could say something like, I need my chair modified because I have a severe physical disability and we're sitting for 8 hours a day and it's really aggravating my disability or making it worse. And what I love, before I continue, when I was having this conversation with this young woman, man, her eyes were soft. She was attentive. We were making some great eye contact and she was looking at me and I could tell she was soaking all the information in because we don't know a lot about ADA law. And in my blog post, I quit my job to save my mental health. A lot of people will go through pain because they need their job. They need their benefits. So they don't know how to advocate for themselves. That's why I started this whole business. That's what you already know the story. But like I could tell I was influencing her, and that's the type of influencer I want to be for my people, for y'all, because I'm a vet and this is how I get to serve beyond the front lines. And talking to her and looking at her, it made me feel so special because I had influence over her. And the type of influence that I want to give people is to be a better person in your community and for yourself. How can I influence you to be a better person for America? All right, now, last thing that I have here. What happens when your disability impacts your work performance? So you can tell your direct manager, when my disability is impacting my work performance, I may need an extra 15-minute break to compose myself, especially in a customer-facing role. So let's say that you have anxiety. I used to work in collections. Let's say you have anxiety and you're making phone call after phone call after phone call and you're not getting anybody on the phone because in collections, once people hear this is an attempt to collect a debt, they're hanging up or they just have your number blocked. You may make 50 calls a day and talk to 4 people. Let's say one of them people curse you out, they call you derogatory names, and you have anxiety and you get flustered. And now you're afraid to pick up the phone. You start shaking because you're so anxious. Hey, I need to take a breather. I need 15 minutes. And that's what you can tell your manager. Let them know that beforehand. All right. Now, when my disability is severe, I may need to take additional days off. Do we have an FMLA program? And who can I talk to about using this benefit? And I'll tell you, when I was working for a Fortune 500 company in Atlanta, I went to my direct manager because I was having a really bad time. And I said, man, I just feel like killing myself. Then the next thing you know, I was given all the time off that I needed. And I thought to myself, am I about to get fired? What's going on? But I was new to corporate America. I didn't know about FMLA. I didn't know about EAP programs. So what they did was give me all the time that I needed off to get my mental health together and come back to work so I can perform at the best of my ability for my employer. And it made me want to work harder for them because I knew that they had my back when it came to my mental health. So it's very important to know what programs that your companies have. Some organizations that may have a waiting period. It may be 90 days before you can take advantage of these benefits, or it may be a year. But just let your direct manager know, because when it comes time for your work performance, it may be too late to say, well, I had a disability and I never got accommodations, because you got to have that integrity. And the company can say, well, we didn't know about it. All we know is that you weren't performing up to par. So this is why your bonus may not be what you think it should be. Or this is why you're not getting that promotion, because your performance isn't up to company standard. That's all I have, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this helps somebody out there. If it did, let me know down in the comments. And If you want to hear more about me, my story, and my blog post, which I'll pin down below, I quit my job to save my mental health. Visit me at www.dkendrickjr.com. Send me a message, and let's talk about me talking for you.